Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to your Thursday evening. If it's Thursday evening at 8 p.m., it must be veganish with Dr. Monique. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Dr. Monique, your board certified family physician who you know and love as the physician in the kitchen. And on this show, we talk about all things plant based, my journey toward a more plant based diet. I bring you along for the ride because we're here to learn and grow and share together. I'm so happy to see Mr. Ellis here tonight. How are you today?
I'm torn because I'm back in Atlanta, so I don't have that ballerific apartment that I had last week. But I am happy to be home. I'm happy to be back here. So that's why last week I couldn't miss the show. So it didn't matter where I was.
Well, it's hard when you got to come back down to earth, right? I've been there. I've done taking some trips, and I'm like, wait, I got to go back to the real world. It's hard, but at least you got to get away. Sometimes people don't always get that chance to break up their routine a little bit and just kind of regroup, refresh. So good for you. Hopefully you all had a little bit of a reprieve too. We just had a holiday, Labor Day, and hopefully you were not laboring, right? I think that should be called not Labor Day, right? If you get the day off, we need to rethink that. But thank you all so much for joining. Please, as you come in, you know what we do around here. We rep your city, rep where you are, stand up from where you are. Okay, so I'm a bet. Last week I said it's usually the Midwest that comes in first, but then I think New York stepped in. So I'm gonna hold it down for New York City. Y'all, you gotta make me look good now. I need at least the tri-state area. How about the tri-state area? New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. put in where you're watching.
I need my southern people to step up. Florida, Georgia.
Who's going to be the first one? But wherever you are watching from, please drop that and tag someone. Go tap somebody on that shoulder virtually and say, "Hey, come on in. Doc is talking about something good tonight, and we want a fellowship," as my grandmother used to say. So, as I mentioned, it's Labor Day. We just had Labor Day, and the weather's getting a little crisper. So, it's time for football. It's time for all things pumpkin, right? And, I was in the store the other day, and I mean, all the Christmas stuff is out. Like, it's going to get to the point where, it'll be like the 4th of July and then Christmas. The Bronx, the boogie down came through. That's where I am from. So thank you so much, Maurice.
Lillian, you got to get them fingers moving fast. We got to get South Kakalaka going.
I knew New York wasn't going to let me down. Thank you so much. We've got South Carolina. We've got Lillian from South Carolina. Letha, it's a beautiful name, from New Jersey. Another tri-stater coming in. So, it's that time of year where days are getting shorter, temperatures dropping a little bit. For some of us, some parts of the country, it might still be kind of toasty. And eating patterns and habits may change a little bit, right? And we're gonna talk about that in a future show too. Like, what is it about the fall and winter months that make us kind of, hibernate? Obviously, cold weather, but like, why do we eat a little differently too? So we'll talk about that in the future. But tonight, I wanted to kind of circle back. We've touched on this topic before, but I have even more information. I wanted to just share that with you because, sharing is caring, right? And you guys know I care about you. So the topic is the food labels, right? Because it seems like every day, if you go to the grocery store, you pick up something and it says, non-GMO, vegan, organic, natural, fat-free. And it's like, well, what do all those terms mean? And, doing the research for this is actually very interesting because all those words don't mean what you and I might think they mean. There's a lot of psychology in the supermarket, right? We've talked about how the impulse items are right there at the front at the register because, especially if you go to the grocery store hungry, you're likely to grab something you don't need to be eating. The milk and eggs and stuff that people need for their children is all the way in the back of the store. So you've got to kind of walk the gamut, right? And you might pick up some other stuff. So lots of stuff. There's even, lighting and music. I mean, like all this stuff that you don't really register, but it's working to help you spend money, right? So not to be left out of the loop, out of the money-making mix, the food manufacturers are using some words that make us think we're eating healthier than we may not be. Because, I think intrinsically, and, Ellis, on what your opinion, I think intrinsically people know they need to eat healthy, right? Unless you've been living in a cave with no access to the internet, for the past 15, 20 years, we all know that, obesity and heart disease and diabetes and other things are definitely impacted by what we eat. And so people, want to make healthier choices. They may face certain challenges, time, money, just not knowing what to do. But I think if you stop the average person on the street and, show them this or eat that, they'll know which one they should probably be eating. So, they tap into that. The food manufacturers can tap into that and put claims or promises on things that will draw you in and make you think you're doing better. So, Ellis, as you hear me say this, what's something that comes to your mind, like where you may have, seen in the grocery store and you're like, is that really true? Or like, does anything kind of make you stop and pause when you're shopping?
Well, I think in a macro sense, one of the things that I always kind of gravitate, because you're right, everybody feels like they need to eat healthy, but there is a general assumption that healthy food does not taste good, right? And so if I see something that tastes good that says uh, low fat, less sugar, organic, I might be more apt to grab it because I'm like, hey, I'm like, oh, I got the best of both worlds. I got something that tastes good and is healthier for me than it is. And so, and it may or may not be that the case, but in my mind it is. So that's what I'm going with until you're about to bust my bubble in about 2 minutes.
Well, that's what I do. I'm here to burst bubbles. That's my job. That's what I signed up for. That's what y'all tune in every week. So Adrian is joining us from Indianapolis. I will actually be in Indianapolis next year. I can't wait. It's my first time. So thank you for watching. So yeah, a few months ago we did a show and we talked about food additives. And I was surprised a little bit that, there's all these additives out there that aren't even being regulated by the FDA or the Food and Drug Administration or any type of really like government body that's saying, hey, you can't do this or put this in your food. And so some of these labels, and Ellis touched on some of them, we're going to talk about, and some of them are FDA regulated, but most of them actually are not. So let's start with that first one. He mentioned organic, because organic is kind of like the buzzword, right? It's a whole separate section in the produce aisle, which of course, fruits and vegetables, we know those are healthy for you. But when you see organic in, the center section of the store on packaged foods, is it really healthier for you? And the answer is, not necessarily. Organic just means that's how the food was grown. The pesticides, the fertilization met certain organic standards. But if you think about it, sugar can be organic. So, and you certainly don't want to sit down and eat a bowl full of sugar, right? So organic is one people tend to equate with being healthier, but that may not necessarily. And for similarly with fruits and vegetables. Now, if you have the extra money to spend, there are some that you might want to, splurge and get the organic version, because again, if you're eating like the skin, if there's a fruit or vegetable that you're actually eating the skin, you might want to get the organic version. But if it's something that you're just going to peel the skin off and throw away, like an orange or a pineapple, maybe, I don't know that it's necessarily worth it. So organic is, it's kind of mixed. So keep that in mind, right? Because again, the example we use is sugar. Organic sugar is still a sugar, okay? So that's why we're speaking of sugar. Were you going to say something?
I said that's facts.
That's
organic sugar is sugar.
So speaking of no added sugar, so some products are just going to be naturally high in sugar. But like we talked about before, fructose is fruit sugar, right? So some things just naturally have sugar, but without having it doesn't, and so not necessarily having added sugar doesn't equate to being healthy. So because what could happen is they could substitute or use the artificial the artificial sweeteners in place of, and they may also actually have higher levels of fat, because when you take something out to get the taste and the texture that we're accustomed to for some of these things, they may add the fat, and vice versa. When you see low fat or no fat, they may be piling up the sugar. So want to be careful with that. So the measurement that they go by is that they can contain up to 0.5 gram of sugar in a single serving. Now, you may think that's not too much, but remember, we've talked about the package serving, how that is usually vastly different from what we consider a serving, right?
Right.
And so if you get half a gram and the package has, 10 servings, right? Well, then you eat the whole thing. You've just gotten like, 5 grams, right?
Right.
So it adds up. So let's see, questions are coming in. Maureen says for her household, we have to not buy unsalted potato chips. So I think I don't know if you mean you buy unsalted or if you can clarify kind of what you mean there. But yeah, but definitely you are watching. Sounds like you are watching your labels though. So good for you. Um, Another one I wanted to talk about is multigrain. So Ellis, if I told you, I'm making a sandwich and I use multigrain bread, what would you think just hearing that?
My initial thought is I don't want to bite of that sandwich, but but
You're gonna end up in a corner before the end of this show.
but I would think it was healthier. I was like, okay, she's eating a multigrain bread. That's healthier. You know, I
Yeah, right.
appreciate that.
So what it's supposed to what makes you think is multigrain. Oh, it's multiple different grains, right?
Mhm.
Obviously, but the grain they don't tell you that those grains can be refined grains. And so, as we've talked about before, refined just means extracted of all the nutrients that naturally comes, like the bran and the endosperm. Those are the things that give you the natural, the good fats, the vitamins, the minerals, protein, fiber, all that's stripped. And then they may, they're going to put in additives or it's processed. So unless it says whole grain, then so whole grain and multigrain are not the same.
Okay.
So we kind of think of that, right? At least I know I did. I'm like, oh, multigrain, yeah, that's got to be good. So it just means that it contains more than one grain. What form that grain is in is another story. Okay. And so, speaking of grains, I want to move now to made with whole grains. Again, this is one of those things where you say, oh, well, then it's got to be good. It's got to be made with whole grains. The product may actually contain very little whole grains. That just
Mm,
means it started off with whole grains, but through the processing process, again, those have been stripped and not there like you would think. So you want to check. Here's another time or a point where you want to read your labels. If it in the first three, we've talked about before about reading your labels, right? So those first 3 to 4 ingredients are the most highest quantity in that food. If the whole grains are not in the first 3 ingredients, 3 to 4, then that means it's not very much in there as far as whole grain.
right.
So they can say this even if they used refined grains, because at some point it started off as a whole grain. So made with whole grains is not a total lie, but it's not.
They're really stretching it with some of these labels and some of the the tricks. I mean,
Yeah,
because you would and it's from them it's purely profit motive, right?
of
They
course
want
they want
people
to
to
sell things and make money.
yeah.
Their businesses, yeah. Right. And so they have they're playing kind of, fast and loose with some of the descriptions, like fruit flavored. Now this one I've learned, this one I know to stay away from, but it reminds me when I was a little girl and my younger years, I used to love strawberry Pop Tarts. I don't even really like real strawberries. I'm coming to appreciate them now, but when I was younger, I didn't really like strawberry. But for some reason, I liked strawberry Pop Tarts.
They were fire. They were fire.
Oh my God, when it was nice and
Fire.
toasty and then but anyway.
Yeah, okay.
So but that fruit flavor can be derived totally from a chemical. It did nan fruit in the fruit flavor, but it could be made from a chemical that tastes like that fruit. So crazy, right? So the FDA has no requirement for this. This is one of the ones where the FDA has no requirement for how much fruit has to be in that to get the label fruit flavored. So they can actually have no fruit in something and be able to label it fruit flavored.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that seems real. Just so you really making me feel like some kind of way right about now, Doc.
I know. I came across this and I was like, I need to share this with people. Another one, natural, right? How can natural not be good? Right? But this doesn't necessarily mean that it is resembling anything close to natural. It just means at some point they started off with a natural ingredient. What it may end up looking like, Who knows? And that natural ingredient doesn't necessarily have to be vegetable or fruit. It could be, I mean, cows are natural, right? So,
Yes, they are.
they're natural.
And
But what
delicious.
they do, so what they do to those cows or pigs or potatoes or whatever you're eating, down the line, it's really, again, typing into that psyche, tapping into the average consumer's desire to eat something artificial, ingredient free, and something that we think is better for us. Another one I want to point out, excuse me, is the word light. You pick
Mm,
up, you go to the store there, or like my favorite one is like cheeses. If you're eating plant based, animal based, cheeses or sour cream, some of those are going to say light, or fewer calories, or low fat, things like that. It's particularly light, the word light, because no fat is actually a different one, or low fat. So this is just a comparison. In other words, low fat means it has less fat than the full, or excuse me, the light version has basically a watered down version. So it has fewer calories compared to the full or regular version, but doesn't have to meet any standard to get that label. All it is a comparison to the average. So it can be compared to, like I said, the regular or the full version, the non-light version, but there's no standard that it has to meet, and other things can be added to it, like sugar.
I'm gonna give y'all a real world example. It's say like you're having an adult beverage and you went out to have an adult beverage and you say, I want a skinny martini, a skinny margarita. Because they think, oh, that's going to be less calories or whatever. And I always say, whenever I see somebody order skinny margarita, I say, they're just going to give you the margarita in a smaller glass. And that's exactly what they do. They
Or
just give them, they just give them less margarita.
or the fruit puree or whatever could have more sugar, right?
Hmm.
So the alcohol, the vodka, rum, whatever is in there might be a lighter version,
Gina,
but they might be making it up with something else,
that's right.
right?
That's right.
So keep that in mind. So speaking of fat, because we've got a special treat for you guys. And I want to leave enough time for our special treat. The low fat and the trans fat, and the zero trans fat, really, like, I think out of all of these, it might have irritated me the most, because if something says zero, that should mean, say it with
Right.
me,
Zero.
zero.
That's right.
So technically, though, what it means is less than 0.5 grams of trans fat per serving. Now, let me just back up. Trans fat is the devil, right? You
Yeah.
really don't want any trans fat. There's some good fat. Trans fat ain't it. And you find trans fat in things like microwave popcorn and cookies, baked goods, like all the yummy stuff, right? Has certain meats are high in trans fat. I know. I'm a mean person for telling y'all this.
You must have been in my pantry because you finding all you
Well,
finding all my snacks.
microwave popcorn, you really want to stay away from. There's some concerns with microwave popcorn. So, but that's a story for another day. But so these can have less than a half a gram of trans fat. And like we talked about, if those servings add up, then you're not just getting that half a gram. You're getting whatever that multiple is of the servings that you ate. So really, 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 really need to pay attention. Gluten-free, we've talked about this before, but just to remind you, gluten-free does not mean healthy. It does not necessarily. All gluten-free means is it doesn't have gluten, which is a protein. Some people can't eat gluten. They can have mild reactions all the way to something serious called celiac disease, which can cause weight loss and rashes, joint pain, gastrointestinal issues, or some people just get bloating, or they don't feel right after they eat gluten. So there's a wide expansion of how gluten intolerance presents. So all gluten-free means is that the FDA has issued they have a definition that you have to have less than 20 parts per million of gluten.
Mm.
So, gluten-free foods can be very highly processed, which we've talked about is not necessarily good for you, and can actually be loaded with the unhealthy fats and sugar. So it may not have that protein, the gluten protein, but it doesn't mean that it's got everything, else is good for you. And then I think I'll wrap up with just low fat, low carb. I want to talk about those two because those are another big ones that people like to look for. But low fat and low fat actually does have an FDA regulation, which just means that fat typically has been reduced, but at the expense of sugar, right? So like I mentioned earlier, they may have pulled back on the fat, but they're sneaking the sugar in to get you that, usually, we know food should feel a certain way in our mouths, right? It should taste a certain way. So they're swapping out those things. So yeah, it's low fat, but read that label and see how much sugar is in there. Right. So the product must have less than 3 grams of fat per 50 grams if it's a snack. For meals and larger, dishes, it's less than 3 grams of fat per 100 grams, and no more than 30% of the calories can come from fat. But that still can add up. So we'll finish up with low carb, which, people go on these Atkins and all these other diets where they cut out carbs. I still say, some carbs are good for you. The complex carbs, the whole grains, those are good for you. They help with decreasing, heart disease and diabetes and cancer risk. They also help with digestion, your elimination, right? Mm-hmm. So, but if you're doing low carb, it's the bad carbs are the simple processed carbs. They hit your body, your blood sugar spikes up. An hour later, it's, you're feeling hungry. You haven't really accomplished anything but gotten those empty calories. So for low carb, though, there's no FDA requirement. So this can be used on pretty much anything. There's no one watching, there's no monitoring. So again, these foods tend to be processed, highly processed foods, similar to low fat foods. So one of the other ones I do want to just mention is FDA regulated. We talked about one, but no cholesterol. So this is another one. So some cholesterol is good for you. Your body uses cholesterol to make steroids. It helps with cell metabolism. But when the FDA says something can be labeled no cholesterol, they just means that it has to have less than 2 milligrams of cholesterol per serving if it's a snack or a meal. This one, it doesn't matter if it's a snack versus a whole meal. But it doesn't mean that there's no cholesterol. In other words, it can contain ingredients that have cholesterol in cholesterol-free foods. Because again, if it's below that 2 milligrams, because it's not zero.
And you wonder why we have one of the most obese societies on the planet.
All right. People are really trying to eat healthier, and then there's this. So I'm just saying all that to say, read your labels, do a little bit of research. Again, don't want you to get overwhelmed, but I also don't want you just to trust blindly and think that, if it's this, it's got to be good for me, or if it's that, it's got to be good for me, because that may not necessarily be true. Some of these labels are a little bit misleading, and some of them have no monitoring or, oversight at all. So Maureen says, read the labels for the first 4 to 5 ingredients and look for hidden sugars and light versions of your favorite foods. She's hit the nail on the head. So in our last few minutes, what do we have for the people, Mr. Ellis? We have a special treat.
We have a special guest here today. This is we'll just go ahead and bring him on. But first of all, I'm gonna get his music going because I want to get him in the mood for what
the music. What?
You know what I'm saying? He's this kind of dude, and he's from New Orleans.
Oh, no. Is it the third line? What's it called?
The second line.
Second line.
And so we're going to bring in Dr. Eric Griggs. He's got a new show starting here on Tuesday.
Yeah. Do something. Do something. I want you to move. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey. You skip. Do something.
Dr. Griggs, how you doing?
Man, I'm great. You just hyped me up. You wanted to rep. I'm representing from the deep down south in New Orleans, bringing the New Orleans funk, a little jazz. You're talking about food, some of my most favorite topics, considering the fact that we do a good job of eating down here. A little too much sometimes. Yeah, reading labels is important, but you got me hyped, man. Why you did that?
Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Monique. Here we go. Yes. What a healthy party.
That's right.
And
party because a healthy party don't stop.
I don't think that's how it goes, but okay.
Hey, man, listen, man, don't hate on the health. Don't hate on the health.
Get him, Dr. Griggs, get him.
I think he's just getting you back because you was just killing all his healthy dreams. He was going to the store, eating all this pseudo-healthy labels, reading it. Look, he reading it the way he holding it like them old people. Like, that's what you're saying.
I'm like, look, well, I can't read it, so I'm just, it says low fat. That's this low fat.
You're going to eat it anyway, right?
So, Doc, tell us about your show.
So this is the show, much like, Dr. Monique, it feels really good to meet another doctor in the realm of Grinch-dom, because I'm going to bring a whole lot of Grinch to a whole lot of men, guys, that don't want to talk about their health. But, before we were doctors, we were people. I was Eric. I was the doctor first, former athlete, know all about all the habits. Listen, take me 2 weeks, now be good. That was, yeah. 30, 40 years, a long time ago. As the body changes, we need to change our attitudes, particularly as men, but most importantly, we need to start having real conversations about our health. At the beginning of COVID, we laughed about it like it was a joke until we had to actually second line here in New Orleans. The first line is a sad line where we mourn the death of a loved one. The second line is a celebration of the life, and that's what the dancing and the music and everything you hear about. It's the spirit of New Orleans, and our spirit was quelled because of a lot of us didn't take it seriously.
Absolutely. So we're starting on Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday next week, 7 p.m. Eastern time, and we're going to be focusing on men, right? Because we know at Black Doctor, a lot of times women, they are great at being the chief medical officers of their families,
yes,
and of their neighborhood. But we got to get guys talking about health. And so we're going to talk about it from a male perspective. We're going to be talking about things that are impacting men specifically and in general. We're going to have special guests on. And it's going to be a fun, energetic show. That's why we got theme music. We had to get some theme music.
No, we even going to talk about when we used to have hair back in the long time ago. I wish I could promise y'all I would have some hair, but I can't.
they make lace fronts for men too, dog.
Hey, man, I'm not fit, man. We're talking about natural. Dr. Monique, help me. When we're talking about, and see, I'm not talking about organic hair that you can buy because it was real at one point.
Some of it wasn't even real. They sprayed on now. You see But anyway, Dr. Griggs, I am so happy to welcome you to the BDO panel because I'm excited for your show. Back when I was in practice, I'm a reformed family practitioner, and I've talked to you before about how I used to, my male patients, I would talk to them in terms, men to understand like their cars, right? So when I'm trying to get them to do maintenance, like get that colonoscopy at 50 or 45 now even, get your PSA, your cholesterol, I said, look, if I gave you the keys right now to a Maserati or 911 or whatever, you're not going to go to the gas station and get the 87 octane, right? You're going to put the best gas in there you can get because you want that car to what? Vroom, vroom, and perform. Body is no different. And I even have a whole show that I've done about, sex and foods and how men can eat certain foods and improve their performance. So I'm excited for your show and your content so you can get those men all the way together.
So Dr. Monique, I'm so thankful for that because I'm going to take everything that you just said about them cars and I'm about to bring it straight to the men's favorite soldier, fellas.
There
See
you
what
go.
You said about that car? Everybody want to vroom vroom in that car? Yeah, bro, you want your soldier to vroom vroom. And you can't buy it at the gas station. You can't ask your doctor for a little pill that he might have to help you out. You got to take care of this soldier, and we're going to have some fun with it. It might hurt a little bit, might be a little uneasy sometimes. We'll talk through it.
Well, it's going to be some hurt feelings. I mean, we're going to get real, and we're going to speak to men, and then we're going to, at the end, in each show, we're going to have a wonderful section called mansplaining. Right. So we're going to mansplain some stuff, but just in a healthy way. So it's not that derogatory mansplaining we're going to do. We're going to mansplain some stuff like what you just did. You mansplained healthy eating. Right. So you talked about the car and equated it to their body. So we're going to mansplain healthy things just to make sure. So ladies, if you're watching us, make sure you tell your uncles, your brothers, your sons, your husband,
your man.
Watch this show. This is and look, you can watch it too, ladies. This is not,
Please
this is
do.
not a private show. It's not broken. Sometimes at first you might want to watch it and say, oh no, this is a great show from a man. You need to watch this. So yeah, we want y'all to watch too, because we're gonna be talking to some of y'all too. We're gonna have female guests. It's really gonna be a fun and energetic show. And we're looking.
I'm waiting for my invite.
Here it is. Formally, you're invited.
And there it is. It's it. Oh yeah, because when we talk about healthy eating, so we're going to talk about, so one of the things that, men, we always like to work out. We still think we can work out. I went to the gym this morning, trying to hold on to a little piece of muscle I think I still have. But I think what's important in that is that we need to support that exercise with healthy eating. And if we're not doing that, if we're trying to supplement our way to a fit body as we get older, that doesn't always work. Our body changes, our metabolism changes, our constitution changes. And so there's a better way, there's healthier ways to support exercise so we can stay fit, get fit, and increase our fitness. Because if we're eating unhealthy food, I don't care how long you run, if you start plugging it with cholesterol and all kind of stuff and sugars, you're going to get those muscle aches, you're going to get all that, you're going to not be able to breathe as much. So you got to pair your diet with your exercise. And so we're going to be talking about all those type of things.
So Ellis, you almost said it. I got excited for a minute. Get checked, get fit, get moving. Go to the doctor, eat healthy foods, find something you like to do and do it. Get checked, get fit, get moving. Get moving.
Got to get checked. Get fit.
See, now I'm jealous. Now I got this theme music. What's going on here?
Look, when he said I got some music, I was like, you got some music? Yeah, he said it to me.
Look, Dr. Monique, and I told him I do own the rights to it too. I do own the rights to this music.
That's why we get playing.
I heard your name in there. So.
Yeah, that's me.
That's him. That's his voice.
Oh, that's
me and my band. Me and my band, the Free Agents.
Nice, very nice. A man of many talents. I do want to acknowledge some of the comments that came in. If we can turn down the music just a little bit.
I'll turn it down.
I do want to recognize another New Yorker watching us. Thank you so much, Agnes. Maureen said she's going to share this with her family clan. Please do. Please do. We talked last week about family history at Thanksgiving, right? Passing the peas and passing the family history.
Yes.
So thank you for sharing this. And then Nicole Williamson said, thank you. Awesome. Thank you for sharing this critical information for our kings. Yes. I'm excited. Like I said, I'm excited, and we'll do a crossover and talk about some things. But I mean, our time is up, but I have enjoyed thoroughly. Dr. Griggs, I wish you much success on the platform. And follow me, please, on all social media at Physician in the Kitchen. My book, Doc Fix My Plate. book.com. You can get your copy there. We talk about all these, how to start that plant-based diet, and unlike what Ellis said earlier, can you turn the music off? Because I need them to hear this part.
Okay. All right, here we go.
You said this, and I needed to circle back to this.
Okay.
Earlier, when I was asking Ellis what these descriptions meant to him, and he was like, well, it probably means the food doesn't taste good. And so I have some delicious recipes in here. So I don't know what you've been told, but actually, unprocessed healthy food can be very delicious. So if you're looking for some interesting vegan recipes, be sure to check it out. Or if you just want to know how to start your journey, right? It's all a journey. It's a process. So you can get your autographed copy at docfixmyplatebook.com.
We ought to do a contest on this show, Doc, about and give away a book for folks
like that.
We're gonna put together a contest for all the people that watch this vegan show, and we're gonna talk about it. And so that contest may require you to try some new vegetables, try some vegan recipes, and we're gonna need some receipts. Okay,
yeah, a TikTok video or something.
Yeah, folks,
a CVS receipt too.
Yes, I'm gonna need the full receipt. Like, you know what I did? I'm sorry. We met with CVS one time. Real short story. We met with them. We're working on a project, and I said after we got the ground got broken and everybody started feeling comfortable with each other, I said, "Can I ask y'all a question?" They said, "Yeah." I said, "Why are those receipts so low?" I did. I asked them.
Those coupons.
They just started laughing. They just started laughing because they know that's their number one complaint.
It's not even environmentally friendly. Just put it on the app like everything else. Like who is taking a paper receipt to a store? Please.
I'm like, I can't go to CVS unless I'm gonna get some groceries. Because if I got one little thing, I get a receipt. Looks like I bought the whole world. Let me make it worth my while. But you gonna give me a foot-long receipt?
Join the rest of the modern world and use an app. is what I need to happen there.
Black Twitter need to get on CVS about them receipts.
Oh, they probably have. They probably have.
Black Twitter, not Black.
Oh,
Black Twitter, boy. They
Twitter
regulate the earth. Okay.
It is a real thing.
Never want to be on the wrong side of Black Twitter.
No, exactly. Not on the wrong side.
I love it.
It's not good for you.
You know how we do. Twitter
I know how we do. We do the most.
That Twitter is
That's not always bad. That's not always bad.
It's
No,
not
not
always
at all.
bad.
Not at all.
When it's bad, I'm trying to tell you, there's some full-on unlicensed comedians out there. Yes.
He's an unlicensed comedian.
Waiting for an opportunity to jump on somebody. Okay.
G. Patsy says CVS app has the same discount without the paper, right? So
You're right. I think you're right. You're right, Patsy. Yeah. All right. I should get the app.
well, all right, y'all. I think we have covered everything from reading labels to Black Twitter. I say that was a pretty successful show.
Yeah, that was fun. That was definitely fun.
Well, you guys.
And with that,
what'd you say?
and with that, we're going to say.
And with that, and I will see you all in 2 weeks. I'll be traveling next week, so I won't be here next week, but we'll be back. Will it still be September? It will still be September, barely, but I'll be back in 2 weeks.
Get checked, get fit, get moving. See y'all.
See y'all Tuesday.